Hey, I'm Jay, your Moralis instructor from beautiful Finland. I got into crypto in 2020, and I've been building in the space ever since. In my free time, I enjoy running and at the gym, and in the summer, you'll definitely find me at the golf course. Now, let's get stuck in and learn about Web3. What is up, everyone? Another Saturday, another Moralis project. Hopefully you're really excited for this. As you've seen in the trailer and in the thumbnail, we're building a Twitter clone with some Web3 elements integrated into it. But before we get started, be sure to go sign up for the Moralis project's email list at moralis.io/projects to get the latest and greatest info of upcoming projects. This is the greatest way for you to jumpstart your path in Web3, built together with the active Moralis mages, community engineers being able to answer your questions when you get stuck. And as an added bonus, you get awesome NFT rewards if you finish the builds like this Web3 Airbnb builder. All these NFTs are up for grabs. By the time this video comes out, there will be a Twitter NFT reward as well. And look at how cool these are. They're animated, definitely brighten up your wallet. But now let's get into today's build. Rightio, so for this awesome Twitter clone, we're going to be using Solidity to make a simple smart contract that we're going to deploy on the Mumbai testnet. It's going to be applicable to any other EVM chain as well if you want to use a different chain. Then we're going to use React for the front end of the build, Moralis on the back end for our database and interacting with our smart contract, and then of course the web3uikit that integrates so seamlessly with Moralis and provides us some nice UI elements. So let's get into this. Here on the front page, you can connect your wallet. We'll use MetaMask and sign in, and voila, you're on the front page. We're on a default account with a default username and a default user picture, and we have some tweets here already. If we go to our profile page, we don't have anything yet. We don't have a banner, we don't have a profile image set or a bio or any tweets, but we can go ahead and edit our profile, set ourselves a name, say Gary, a bio, let's say ex-investment banker turned Web3 mage. And here we have a very cool element. We have our wallet's own NFTs that we can select our own profile picture from. So all the NFTs you own in your wallet, you can use as your profile pictures. Of course, we haven't set anything yet, but we can choose say this or this NFT, and that will be used as your profile picture from here on forth. So we'll set this one, then you can set a profile banner from your local directory. We'll put this nice image of Coca-Cola, set that, press save, the page refreshes, and you see our profile has changed. We use our NFT, we're using Gary as our username. If we go to our profile page, look at that, the Coca-Cola banner's there as well, and our ex-investment banker turned Web3 mage is our bio. Now let's go ahead and go to the home page and try and make a tweet. Over here in our tweet box, we can tweet, made a cool vid, check it out, and then we can even set a image to this tweet. Let's go ahead and choose this one, open, it adds it to the tweet, and then we have two options. We can just have a regular tweet or then tweet it and save it onto the Matic testnet, but we'll just go for the regular tweet first, and boom, almost instantly it is added to our tweet thread over here, made a cool vid, check it out. And if we go check our profile now, look at that, it's added to our your tweet section in your profile. Now let's go ahead and try the Matic tweet functionality. So let's go and say GM world, a couple of exclamation marks, and try and do the Matic tweet. MetaMask pops up and asks us, do we want to make a one Matic transfer to the owner of this contract? Because that is the fee to save your tweets on the blockchain. We accept, confirm, and boom, our GM world tweet went through on the Matic blockchain. We just did this one Matic contract interaction. We can see the tweet in our profile here as well. And if we go check out the Matic testnet block explorer, over here I have opened the contract for our saving tweets functionality, and 36 seconds ago someone made that one Matic transaction, which was us. And if we go look at the events, we see that this transaction happened 56 seconds ago. We can turn this hex into text, and we see it is our GM world tweet. How cool is that? So now you see what we're going to build today. I really hope you're excited for this build. It was really fun to make. And remember, if you finish this build, you get an awesome NFT as a reward. Get stuck in, and let's go ahead and start with a smart contract. Okay, now we're ready to get our hands dirty and start building this out. And today we'll start off with smart contracts. If you're new to smart contracts and Solidity, don't worry. We'll go through this step by step. If you have any background in JavaScript or any other programming language, this will be super simple stuff and you'll learn stuff. This is what we want you to do in Moralis projects. We want you to learn new stuff. And if you're a smart contract veteran, this will be a walk in the park for you, a very simple smart contract, because if you remember in the app, we only want to store, if the user wants to save their tweet on the blockchain, we need to store the tweet image, and who is actually making that tweet, so their wallet address. So we're going to make a simple smart contract to just store different tweets from our app. So you're going to want to head to remix.ethereum.org, which is an online IDE where you can write your smart contracts, compile them, and even deploy them, and then interact with the smart contract after you've deployed it. And then we can go on to the block explorer to see what actions happen on the blockchain when we interact with our smart contract. But to get started, go over here to the sidebar, to the files, open up the contracts, and create a new file. We'll call it tweets.sol. So the SOL extension stands for Solidity. And now to start every script, you're going to need to provide the license, which will be MIT like so. And then we'll also have to define the version of Solidity, which we're going to be using 0.8.7 and above. So just pragma Solidity and then the version. And then every single smart contract starts with a contract. Name the contract, we'll call it tweets, and then curly brackets to put our contract functionality within. Let's kick our contract off by defining a few variables. So address, which will be public for anyone to view. We'll put the owner of that smart contract, and then we'll define a private variable, a number that we'll call counter, which we'll use to just increment the ID of the tweet that we're inputting into the blockchain. So essentially every tweet will have their unique identifier. And then we can go ahead and create a function that runs at the very start when the smart contract is deployed, which we'll do by typing constructor. It won't take any parameters. And then within the constructor, we're going to want to define our owner and our initial value for our counter, like so. So we initialize the counter at 0. So our ID for our first tweet will be 0, and then we'll increment our counter to get a incremented ID for every subsequent tweet. And then the message variable is something that you get for every interaction with the smart contract. And in the constructor function, of course, we're looking at deploying the smart contract. So the sender will be the person who is deploying the smart contracts. This gives us the address for them. And thus we can store this wallet address as the owner of this smart contracts, viewable for anyone. So anyone interacting with the smart contract can see which wallet actually owns the smart contract. And now let's go ahead and create a struct. So think of this as a definition for a constant structure for an object. So in this case, we want an object that stores the address of the tweeter, the content of the tweet, the image of the tweet, and then the ID of this tweet. So we can define them here like so. So you notice we have an address called the tweeter, then a number with the ID of the tweet, and then in string format, we store the tweet text and then the source of the image. And now we want to also create an event with all these same details, as when a new tweet is created, we want to be able for people to go onto the Blocks Explorer and actually see that, okay, a new tweet was created on the smart contract. So we can do the same thing. We can just copy out what we have over here, paste it in here, change this struct to an event. And rather than having tweet, we'll do tweet created. In events, what you have to remember that they're not separated by semicolons, but just normal commas. So we'll just change all of these like so. So now we have a struct called tweet and an event called tweet created. And every time we want to use a function to create a new tweet, we have to invoke this tweet struct. So that in essence will create us an object with all these different variables. And then we can also at the end, when we created that struct, invoke this event to send a message to the blockchain that a new tweet was created. And now finally, before we go ahead and create our function to actually create a tweet on the blockchain, we want to store all of these tweets we create in some sort of an array. But in Solidity, we rarely use arrays. We want to use a thing called a mapping. And in this mapping, we can define that numbers map to structs of tweet. So now, providing this mapping that we can actually give a name, say tweets. So this is our array or our mapping of tweets. So we provide tweets, any number. We know that the structure of it will be of the structure of tweet, like so. So now, anytime we create a new tweet, we initialize it in the tweets mapping, so it's always stored in this tweets mapping and we can reference it whenever we need in the future. And now let's go ahead and create our function to add a tweet. Rightio, so function, we'll call it add tweet, like so. And what it'll take as parameters, we'll have to provide it with 2 strings and we have to tell Solidity where to store them, so memory. And the first one will be the tweet text. And then the second one, same thing, but with tweet image, like so. And then we'll want to create a public payable function and our logic will go inside of here. First things first, we'll always want to state our require statements. So if these conditions aren't met, the function won't run. And if you remember from the demo, we always had to send 1 ether or 1 matic, whatever the currency of the network the smart contract is deployed on. So we'll have to require that the value sent when interacting with the add tweet function is at least that 1 ether. And if not, it will give us an error message saying, please submit 1 matic. And then we can go ahead and create a new tweet struct. So what we're doing here is we're defining that this new tweet will have the form of the tweet struct, and we're storing it in the tweets mapping in the counter position, and the counter is set to 0 at this point, and at the end of this function we'll then increment our counter, so anytime anyone else invokes this add tweet function, they'll map to another number in this tweets mapping. But now we can go ahead and give this new tweet all its parameters, so the address, tweet text, tweet image, and the counter ID. So let me just paste in here how we do it and talk through this. So we have this new tweet over here that has the struct of tweeter, ID, tweet text, and tweet image. So then we can access the tweet text by just using the period separator to get this new tweet's tweet text. And we know that it's stored already in the tweets mapping. And then we just set this new tweet struct tweet text value to tweet text, which we've passed already when calling the function. Same thing for the image source. We're just passing the tweet image key, the tweet image string from calling the function. Now for the tweeter, because whoever is calling this add tweet function, they're sending a message and we can get the message sender, so we can get the wallet address like so, and we're storing the tweeter address to be the message sender. And then for the ID, of course, that will be the counter, which is at the 0 at the start. And then now we've essentially created this new tweet and stored it in this tweets mapping. Now, the last thing for the whole wide world to see what's happened, we can emit the new tweet created event so that whenever this is created on the blockchain, it's also reflected and emitted so we can view it on the block explorer. So here we just do the emit event. We have to pass it the address, which will be the message sender, the counter, which is already set in the smart contract, the tweet text, which we pass in the function, and then the tweet image as well passed in the function. And now after that's done, we can go ahead and increment the counter by doing counter plus plus. And now anytime this function is called again with different parameters, we'll get a new tweet stored in the mapping that has different parameters and also will emit a new event. And last thing, because we are requiring a message value of 1 ether, we have to make sure that it is also sent to the owner of this smart contract. So it's not just stored on this smart contract. You could just store it on the smart contract and then use it as a wallet to send the funds somewhere else, or if it's a team wallet, to send it distributed evenly. But we're just going to send it to the owner of the smart contract. So all we have to do is payable, and who's it payable to? The owner. And then we're just going to transfer the message value like so. And now our function is ready. We're going to add a new tweet with the tweet text, tweet image, and all of this data will be stored on this smart contract in this tweets mapping and also emitted so that we can view when new tweets are created on the block explorer. And finally, the owner of the decentralized Twitter will get their share of each tweet tweeted. Perfect. So now underneath this add tweet function, I want to create one more function called getTweet. Function getTweet. And what this function does is as long as you pass it a parameter of ID, it will be a public function that returns 2 strings, one like so and another one like so, and then finally a address. If you're following, we pass this getTweet function a ID, And then it's a public function that returns us two strings, and these two strings will be the tweet image source and the tweet text, and then the address of the person who made this tweet. So this function essentially gives anyone access to go through the log of all the tweets on this smart contract and find what has been tweeted, and if there was an image posted alongside it, and what the address was who tweeted it, and then we'll put our functionality within here. So running through this functionality quickly, first we require that the ID that is passed is less than the current counter, because otherwise there won't be a tweet like that. Then we want to get a tweet struct from storage, and let's say we just call it T, and that will equal from our tweets mapping the ID that was passed in the function call, like so. And then finally, we just return from our new tweet struct that we saved here, T tweet text, T tweet image, and then finally we'll return T tweeter, like so. And this will return us, when we call this function, who made that tweet of that ID and the content of that tweet. And now our smart contract is ready. You've completed the smart contract. We can go ahead and start deploying it. All right, so what I'll have you do is go here to the sidebar and press the Solidity icon, and it'll allow us to compile our tweet.sol smart contract. And because we've gone through this pretty quickly, there might be some errors in the smart contract. So if we try and compile, it says that there's one error. There might be more. So here in the event, I think we should use normal brackets, not curly brackets. Then we try and compile again. We don't have a comma at the end of the event. We have to use the semicolon after events. And then finally over here in our last function, we have to run returns, not return. And it seems like we've mistyped memory a couple of times over here, like so. And finally, our smart contract is ready to compile. You see how good the Remix IDE is. It tells you if you have errors in your code, so you can't compile faulty code. But now with our code ready, and this code will be available for you in the repositories, especially now where there were a few mistakes, so you can get the correct code from the repository. And now we can compile our tweets.sol and go ahead in this third option in the sidebar, where we have an option to deploy our smart contract. All right, so in this first environment selection, we want to provide injected Web3 because we want it to be actually deployed on a real network, so where we can interact with it through our React app. So just make sure that your MetaMask is connected to the network of your choosing. We'll use Polygon testnet, and you have a little bit of the network's currency. Then all you have to do is scroll down and deploy your smart contract. MetaMask asks you if you want to do the contract deployment. We confirm. Now we can actually open this console up over here, and it should pop up with a green check mark like so when our contract is deployed. And if you scroll down here in the bar, you see your deployed contracts, tweets over here, and you have the smart contract address for it, and it has all the functionality we created. So you have your add tweet, which takes in the tweet text and tweet image, and then we have the get tweet function where you have to pass an ID, and it'll give you the metadata for that tweet. And of course you have the owner. If we press that, we see this is the person who deployed this smart contract, and will receive the rewards if some people tweet. So now let's test out if this works. So go to your MetaMask, change your account. I'll go to account 1 over here. And now let's add a new tweet for the string. Let's say my first tweet. We won't add an image. We'll just say no image, and then we'll go ahead and transact. It gives us an error, please submit the one matic. So we know our require statement is working. So we can go over here and provide a value of 1 ether just to make sure that we can run this function, and then we transact with it again. MetaMask pops up and asks us, do we want to send that one matic? We do confirm. And again, we should get a green check mark when it's ready. Here on MetaMask, we also see that our contract interaction is pending, but now it's gone through contract interaction successful. We've lost one matic, and it has gone to our account 2, the creator of this tweet smart contract. And now we can go ahead and look at that tweet we just created. It'll be ID 0. We call that, and we see that my first tweet has been tweeted with no image, and the address who tweeted it was our address. How cool is that? And now I'll show you that this data is actually available to the public on the blockchain right now. So let's go over and head over to the Mumbai testnet block explorer. But before that, let's just copy out our contract address from here. So we copy that, and then go over to the Mumbai testnet block explorer. We can search for that address, and look at this. The contact creation happened 6 minutes ago because of some editing in this video, and 54 seconds ago someone sent one matic. And if we go to the events, we see that that one event was emitted. If we change this code to text, my first tweet, and over here, no image. How cool is that? Now, on the blockchain forever, we know that this tweet has happened and it can't be changed. And now let's go ahead and get this smart contract integrated with a React app so we can have a decentralized Twitter. So next things next, let's start building the UI for our Twitter clone. Okay, so now we're here in our IDE, and let's go ahead and start building this out. I have the Twitter Star project over here cloned from the YouTube tutorials GitHub repo, and you'll have access to this as well so you can follow along. First thing you want to do is run yarn in the console to install all the dependencies you'll need for this project. And while that's running, you can go ahead and check the source folder. It's a basic React app with an index.js file that wraps the app around React Router so we can route between different pages. We have the notification provider from web3uikit if you want to add notifications to your page, and then the Moralis provider giving us access to Moralis after we provided an app ID and server URL. And then of course the app.js file is a simple page at this moment. We have routes to the different pages, the home page, the profile page, and the settings page, but that is it. So if we run our app, yarn start, we get this very simple page with a dark theme, and we have our different pages. We have the profile page, the settings page, and back to the home page. And now we can go ahead and start making our page look nice. So we have a sidebar, our main window, and then a right bar, mimicking the structure of the actual Twitter page. All right, back here in our app.js file, let's go ahead and wrap our whole div main window inside another div, like so, and call it, let's say, page. The CSS styling will be available for you in the app.css file and the other files as well when we're going forward, just to speed things up. But now let's go ahead and create a sidebar div to put in front of the main window and then a right bar div to put behind the main window. So go ahead and do div with a class name equal to sidebar. And then we can put some text in here, say sidebar, and then do the exact same thing, but behind the main window, and this one will call right bar, and let's just type right bar over here. Save that, and now go check your page, and look at this. We have this beautiful structure where we have these separating lines, and here we'll have our tweet feed and our profile page and our settings page, but then in the sidebar we'll have our menu, and in the right bar we can have some sort of advertisements or whatever you'd like to put in that. But now we have a nice, beautiful structure, and that didn't take us any time at all. Okay, so let's head back to our repo. And in here, where we have our sidebar, let's, instead of that, use a component called sidebar, and we'll have to import it. So import side from ./components/sidebar. So what we have here in our source directory, we have a components folder. And in here, I have a few components set up for you. So we'll use the sidebar.js file over here. It's an empty React functional component, and we'll have to start populating it with what we want to have in our sidebar, just to make our code a bit cleaner. So if we go ahead and save this, now whatever we have in the sidebar component will be displayed in the sidebar on our page. So here, we can go ahead and create a div, and give it a class name of equal to the cider content, and then we'll want to have a menu in our sidebar. So for that, again, give a class name of equal to menu. And now at the top of our sidebar, we'll want the Twitter logo, so we can import it from web3uikit. So we have the icon component from web3uikit, and then how to display the Twitter logo is very simple. You just call the icon component, fill it with a white color, then define the size, and we're going to use the Twitter SVG. So that should have us going pretty nicely. Let's go and check what we've done. Save this, and look at that. We have our Twitter logo beautifully set up in our left sidebar. Now head back to your repo, and to make the Twitter logo align nicely, wrap it around a div called details, like so. And now Underneath our nice Twitter logo, we'll want to add our menu options. So we'll have a home page, a profile page, and a settings page. And we can essentially follow this same structure. Let's just style this nicely over here. So we'll have a very similar structure to this. If we copy this and paste it over here, rather than having details as the class name, we'll have menu items. And as the SVG for the first one, let's use list. And then we can provide a little bit of text underneath it as well, say home. And now all we have to do is copy this 3 times. And for the second one, we'll want to use the user SVG and the text will be profile, while the last one we'll use a cog and the text will be settings, like so. So we save that, go check our page, and look at that. We have a nice, beautiful page like so. We have our Twitter logo, we have our home, profile, and settings tabs. But last but not least, we want them to route like we do here in our main window to the home, profile, and settings page. We want these buttons to be able to route us to the different pages on this Twitter clone. So let's go ahead and implement that. Back in our sidebar.js file, we have to import link from React Router DOM, and every single one of our menu items we have to wrap around a link. Like so. So now our home menu item has been wrapped around a link, and we want to direct it to the URL of the home page. So it'll just be the standalone URL, and we'll also give it a class name of equal to link. Now doing this for the other two as well, we get something like this. Let me just style it nicely for you and add some spacing so we see what's going on. So we have this first link that directs us to the home page. Then we have the second link that directs us to the profile page, and then this third link that directs us to the settings page. Now, if we save this, go back to our app, look at this, they're all beautiful. They highlight as well. So if we press the profile, it takes us to the profile page. We press settings, it takes us to the settings page. And now we can take away from our main window the links to the different pages because we're handling it all in the sidebar. But before we go ahead and start modifying this main window, let's go ahead and fill out this right bar and put a little search bar at the top here and maybe make some advertisements over here just to make it look and feel like an actual Twitter clone. So head back to your IDE, go to your app.js page, and similarly like we did with the sidebar, let's go ahead and in the right bar, add a component called right bar. Format that nicely. And then we also have to import it like we did with the sidebar over here. So do the exact same thing over here, but just call right bar and it'll be in components right bar. Save that. And now go ahead and open in the components folder the right bar JS file. And you'll notice that it already has some data in it, but it's not rendering anything. It just has this object called trends. It's actually an array of objects called trends, which have an image, a text, and a link. And we'll use this as advertisements in our project, but you can change it to whatever you like. And it is already getting all the image assets from the images folder that will be available for you as well. So let's go ahead and start rendering something over here. So first of all, we can of course create a div and give it a class name equal to right bar content. And in here, we'll want to have a input that is imported from the web3uikit. So we'll have to go ahead and import input from web3uikit, like so. And then give our input some properties. So we'll label it as search Twitter. We'll give it the same name. We'll give it a prefix icon of equal to search, and then the label background color you'll have to set to the same color as the background of the app, which is this, just so it looks nice. And now if we save this and we can go to split screen mode, look at that, we have a nice search bar in the top over here that in the future, if you want to build this further, you could use as a search functionality to search different people on the Twitter clone. But now underneath the input, we'll use our trends array to map through all of these objects and display them in an advertisement-like fashion. So what you'll want to do is create a div, give it a class name equal to trends, and say news for you. Save that. And look at this, we get this nice little box with news for you, and we can map through our trends over here and have a nice little advertisement box over here. Okay, so underneath our news for you over here, we can map through the trends like so, and then always return some sort of HTML. So first, let's go ahead and create a div, give it a class name equal to trend, and on click of this div, we'll want to do a window.open, and then every one of our trends have a link to some sort of page. So we can do e.link, and then pressing any one of these trend elements will take us to the corresponding link. Now inside this div, let's first add an image with source being equal to e.image. So our trends array objects always have an image. And then we'll give it a class name equal to trend image. And then lastly, we'll create one more div, give it a class name equal to trend text. And what we'll render will be the element's text. So now if we save this, look at this. We pop up with all the details from our trends array. We have the image, which is Space Shooter over here. We have the text, learn how to build a Web3 FPS game, etc. And then pressing it will take us to the corresponding link. So if we go ahead and try it out, refresh this page, press that, seems like it's not working. Maybe we did something wrong. Yeah, if you look over here, we wrote on click with a capital L. So let's save that with the correct spelling. And now when we press this, it opens us up to the link. The same thing with all of these. They all work beautifully, and our page is looking awesome, don't you think? We can go to different pages. We have the advertisements over here. We have the search bar, and now we can work on the main content. So the tweet feeds, and then we'll also have your profile page and then the settings page where you can change your profile picture to NFTs you have, etc. So first, let's just start off with this home page. Go to your IDE, and in the directory, go to the pages folder and select home.js. And currently you see here, we have the structure to route us to the different pages. We can get rid of this. We won't need that because we're doing this in the sidebar. And then again, we can take away the import for link from React Router. Save that. And now go ahead and put our homepage content in here. And what we'll want is, first of all, a tweet box that shows your profile picture and gives you a text area where you can type a tweet you would like to tweet. So let's go ahead and make a div, give it a class name equal to main content. And inside this div, create a div and call this profile tweet. And first of all, we'll need an image. And this image will have a source equal to, but we'll have to import our default images file from over here. You'll have it in your repository, but here's two default images where the first one is a default image for a profile picture and the second one is a default image for a banner. So we'll have to import those like so. So now our default images array consists of two default images, one for a profile picture and one for a banners. And we'll want to use default images 0 for now. In the future, when we have people logged in, we'll use their personal profile image, but for now we'll just use the default image and then give a class name equal to profile pic, like so. Save that and let's go see what's happened. And perfect, we have our top section over here where we have our profile picture or our default profile picture, and then here on the right we can start rendering our text box where the user can input their text box. So let's do that next, put these in split screen mode, boom. And now underneath our image, let's create a div, give it a class name equal to tweet box. And in this tweet box, we'll put a component called text area. And although automatically it imported it from this random library, we'll import it from web3uikit. And it doesn't render anything because we haven't provided the properties for this text area yet. So label equals empty. Name equals, say, tweet text area. Let's put a default value, say GM world. The type will be equal to text, and our width, we'll want it to be equal to 95%. So we save that. and everything disappears, but I think it's because we didn't destructure this import properly. So put it within curly brackets, save that. And now we have a nice input field over here. Let's refresh the page where we can type hello world or whatever you'd like to tweet. And you also have your profile image here. And now next we want to add a option to add a image to your tweet, and then your tweet options, one for just tweeting normally and one for actually saving that tweet to the Matic testnet. So let's just refresh this. We get that nice GM world over there and go ahead and work on that. We can go ahead and get started by adding a div over here. We're constantly adding divs, but that's just good. So class name equals, and this will be image or tweet. And in here, we'll put, first of all, the div for our image. So image div will be the class name for that. And then after that, we will have another set of divs with the class name equal to tweet options. But now here, inside our image div, we'll again use web3uikit to provide an icon, but we'll have to make sure that we import it already. So icon over there. And then this icon, first we'll provide a fill color for it, like so. Set the size to equal 20. And then the SVG will be equal to image. Now saving that, we get this nice little image over here, and if we refresh, it is even gets this nice little surrounding gray color when you hover over it. We'll add our on-click events soon, but first let's do the tweet buttons over here to the right. So inside our tweet options div over here, let me just paste in these two buttons I made like so. So their divs are tweet. The first one just says tweet inside it. And the second one, we've set the background color to be a nice purple, and it'll have a Matic icon inside. Save that, and look at that. We get our nice tweet button for when we want to tweet and not save it on the blockchain, and then our Matic tweet button, which will allow us to save our tweet on the Matic testnet. Now, let's go ahead and use this image button to select an image from our local machine and add it to a tweet. To achieve this, let's go ahead and import from React useState and useRef. So in the state, we can store the currently selected image, and using ref, we can reference a input tag so we don't actually have to show it, and we can use this icon as an input tag instead. So let's do a const input file equals useRef null, and then const, let's do selected file, and then set selected file equal to useState, and it'll be empty to start off. And now we can go ahead and add our input tag where we have this image. So over here, like so, and you notice that we display none. So we don't display this input tag, although we're using the input tag to go search our local machine for images. But on change of it, we do a function called change handler. But what we have to do is when the image div is clicked, so on click, we have to create a function called on image click, which then uses this input file reference to indicate that we have clicked this input button. So we have to create two functions, an on image click and a change handler. Let's create the on image click first, and you'll see how this works. So underneath our constants over here, if we just create this on image clicked function, what it does, it uses this useRef for input file and clicks it. So if we save this, we can actually go test it out. Looks like it doesn't work if we haven't defined our on change handler yet. So if we comment that out, save that, and now refresh. Now looking at this page, if we press the input file, it opens up our file directory, and we can go ahead and choose any image. But because we haven't defined the on change handler function yet, we can't actually input the file over here in the selected file state. So now let's go ahead and define this change handler function. So scrolling up back again underneath our on image click function, let's create our change handle function. So whatever event happens in the file selector, we get the file that was selected and save it in the image constant. And then we set the selected file in our state to a temporary object URL so we can display it on our page. And now our selected file constant will have the image that we selected, and then we can display it, say, underneath our text area over here. So we have our text area end over here, so we can go ahead and render an image over here, like so. So as long as we have a selected file, we'll render an image, which source will be the selected file that we've set over here, and then the class name will be tweet image. And so if we save this and go to our page over here, refresh, let me just open this up full screen because it looks a bit better. And here, if we press the image, we can select any image in our files. Let's go for this image of some guy enjoying time in the sunset on his canoe, and it fits perfectly beneath our image. And now we can go ahead and even change this. We can select another photo, say this one, same dude, but different scenery, looking at a golf ball. How cool is this? You can already select files from your local machine and present them on your page. We'll work on uploading these to IPFS later and getting an image URL that can be used globally for anyone for them so they can actually be saved as tweets. Next, let's work on the tweet feed where you see tweets from everyone who has been using this Twitter clone. So let's refresh the page over here to get rid of that image and put these back into split screen mode, like so. And here at the bottom over here, we'll want to, because this is our profile tweet section over here, we'll want to create another component called tweet in feed. And it'll take as a parameter whether it is your profile or not, because the profile, once we have our database set up, we'll only want to show our own tweets. But for now, we'll set it as false because this is the home page, so we want to see everyone's tweets. But you won't have to worry about this too much now. Just make sure that you create a component called tweet in feed and make sure you import it. Components/tweet in feed. So we save that, and then we can open up our file directory, go to our components, and find your tweetinfeed.js file, which is an empty React functional component, and we can start creating it here. So first of all, if we try and do a div that says hello, save that, you see that hello pops up over here, so we know it's working. But for now, we're just going to populate our feed with some filler tweets, not actual tweets from our database, just to get the UI working. And then when we integrate Moralis, we'll actually get the tweets in the database to be presented on this page. But for that, you'll need to import a couple of things, and these will be in your file directory. So import golf from images, canoe from images, then our default images again to get our default profile picture, and then icon from web3uikit. And then we can go ahead and start making our first div, which will have class name equal to feed tweet, as it should be. Save that. And our first tweet is over here. It even highlights it nicely when we hover over it. If we add another one, like so, and save that, now we have two tweets over here, and we can go ahead and work on filling this up with some content. So of course, first we can go ahead and add the profile image of the user. So we'll use the default image again for now. But when we go ahead and integrate Moralis, we'll also always use the user's actual profile image. Next, we'll create a div with class name complete tweet. Let's just style this nicely. So inside this complete tweet, we can always input all the content of the tweet. So let's save this. You see the profile image comes up. And now we first want inside the tweet, we want the name of the user, their wallet address, and when the tweet was posted. So how we do that is simply by adding a couple of divs, one called who, which will have the username of the person tweeting, and then a class name ACC when, which has the user's crypto wallet address in a abbreviated form, followed by the time that it was posted. So if we save that, you see our username pops up over here, followed by a darker shade showing the wallet address and the time. And then underneath this, we can actually paste the div content, like so. So we have a class name tweet content. We're saying nice day golfing today, shot 73 +2. And then we also have a image in it with source golf, which we are importing already at the top. And we give it a class name tweet image. Remember, all of this is hard-coded tweets. We'll use Moralis to get the actual tweets in real time later on in the video. But if we save this for now, look at this, we get a nice tweet with the image below it. And now all we have to do is have the interactions we want for this tweet. So liking it, commenting it, and maybe some sort of Matic interaction if you want to donate. But that's outside of the scope of this video. But just to make it look nice, let's add the interactions over here like so. So we have a large div called interactions. Within, we have 3 separate divs with class name interaction nums, and each of them have 3 icons. We've actually hard coded for the star 12 as well, so that it essentially has 12 stars. But we're using the message circles SVG icon, we're using the star icon and the matic icon, and it should look something like this. How cool is that? So now, look at this. We have a full Twitter front page. You have your sidebar, you have the place where you can actually make a tweet, you have some advertisements over here on the right, and you have your Twitter feed. So let's now just add a couple of tweets manually over here, just so you get the full effect. So what I'll do here is open up the repo, and we have this feed tweet. Let's just make a bunch of them. These will be available for you in the final build repository if you'd like. This is just to give you an idea of what it would look like. So if we save that, go back to our page. Now when we scroll down, we have these tweets. This is dummy text from Lorem Ipsum, then thoughts on the new Coca-Cola banana. This is just some random tweets I came up with, and then love spending time with another image over here. How cool is that? It scrolls nicely in the middle of the view pane over here. How cool is that? We've done our sidebar, or at least the start of it. We'll also have the user down here when we have Moralis authentication. Then we also have our right bar, and then we have this beautiful center page. But now we can go ahead and move on to creating this profile page, which is still empty, and then following that, the settings page. And then we can move on to Moralis integration and getting these tweets on the blockchain and storing tweets in the Moralis database. So let's put this in split screen mode again, like so, and go to our home.js page. And at the top over here, even before our main content, let's add a div with class name page identify and have a text of home. And this same div we can add to our profile page. So if we go to our directory and go to profile.js, over here we have all these links. We can remove them again and paste, open this up. Page identify, but this one will be profile. And what this does for us, it gives us a nice indication of what page we are on. So you see that we're on the home page. It sticks at the top over here beautifully, and same thing with the profile. We know that we're on the profile page, and once we get to the settings page, we'll put one on the settings as well. But now here on the profile page, what we'll want is the user's banner. We'll have a default banner, but we'll also have an opportunity in the settings for the user to set their banner. And then of course their profile image, their username, wallet address, and we'll also add a functionality to add a biography for yourself as well. So we can go ahead and start by adding that banner over here. So we have to import, once again, default images from default images. And then over here, we can create an image with the class name profile banner, and the source will be default images and index 1 this time. We've been using 0 for the profile picture, but the banner will be index 1. Save that. And you see we have this default banner over here. Of course, it's not very pretty, but the user can then set it to whatever they would like. After that, we'll go ahead and create a div called class name equals PFP container. So this is where we'll put all our content about our profile. Of course, starting with our profile picture, which is default image 0. So save that. Look at that. We have our profile image nicely overlapping with our banner over here. Next, we'll just add the username in a div called profile name, and then the user's wallet address in profile wallet. Again, we'll get these details when we have Moralis integrated. Now they're just hard coded, save that. So we get our username and the wallet address over here. Then we'll also want to, in this right-hand side, have a button that takes us to the setting page, not only have our sidebar that takes us to the setting page, so we can add that by using link from React Router and it linking us to the settings page, and then creating a div inside the link called profile edit, and it says edit profile. So if we save that, it adds our edit profile to the right-hand side of our main window over here. Then underneath our link, we'll create our bio. So it'll have class name, profile bio. You can write whatever you like. Your average Web3 image we wrote over here. Save that. And that is over there, your average Web3 mage. And then finally over here, you'd have different tabs, but we'll only have one tab called your tweets. So we can add it like so. So you create a div called profile tabs. So if you'd like, you could have your comments, your tweets, your likes, but we'll only focus on your own tweets for now. Save that. And that will create this nice little tab-like element over here saying your tweets. And then underneath this, Now that we have finished our PFP container, we can add our tweet in feed. Tweet in feed with profile set to true this time. So when we use Moralis to fetch all the tweets, we can only show the user's personal tweets. We just have to make sure that we bring it in. We have brought it in, save that. And now this is looking fantastic for us. Look at this, it's your profile. You can see all the tweets here as well. And then if you go to the home page, you get this different view. How cool is that? On the profile page, you get this different view with your own profile, and it also takes you to the settings page, which we'll do next. And we can start it off by again having our top banner saying what page we're on, like we did in the previous pages. So going back to our repo, looking at our settings.js, we can go ahead and remove all of this and add a page identify settings like so. Save that. And now when we go to the page, we have a nice little settings and we can apply our content here. Again, we love split screen mode, so let's do that again. And now here on our settings.js file, let's go ahead and add a few inputs. So on our settings page, first we want a public facing username input and your biography input, so you can let your personality shine. So let's start off by creating a div again and give it a class name equal to settings page. And under this, I'll add two inputs. All right, so I've commented out the on-change events because we won't have those yet. But we essentially have two inputs brought in from web3uikit. So let's just import those. Input like so. And one is for the name and one is for your biography. So if we save this, they don't look like they came out naturally, but that's because our div was misnamed. It's settings page, not setting page. Save that. And now they look beautiful. Remember, all these CSS stylings are in the final project repository and in your startup repository. So feel free to reference all the class names if you need to. But now we have a nice little input field over here. So if we try and press that, that lets us set our username and then the same thing for our biography. Now underneath this, we'll want the user to be able to select their profile picture from their NFTs within their wallet. But for now, because we haven't integrated Moralis yet, so we can't fetch the user's NFTs, we'll just use a standard set of 5 PFPs that are in the project directory. So you can just copy these lines to bring in the 5 PFPs we have in the project, and then go ahead and create an array of them, PFPs, and they correspond to these 5 PFPs that we imported. And now we can map through this PFPs array and display these PFPs over here, and then choose the user's profile picture from these. But remember, when we integrate Moralis, we'll use the user's own NFTs for this. All right, so underneath your last input, let's go ahead and create a new div with class name PFP, give it a title, say profile image, your NFTs. Then inside this div, we'll create another div with class name PFP options, inside which we can start mapping through our PFPs array. So PFPs.map, and then we're going to get each element and the index of the elements, and then go ahead and return these images. So we'll make an image tag, and the source will be equal to each element, while the class name will be equal to PFP option. Now, if we save this, look at this, all our PFPs come out beautifully over here. If we open this up, look at that, how neat is that? But now we also want to be able to select these NFTs and have an indication, maybe a border indicating which one is currently selected. So we have to import useState from React, and we'll also import useRef because we'll use that later on as well. So let's go ahead and do that. So scrolling back to our imports, let's make sure we import useState and useRef. And then go ahead and create a state variable called selected PFP, which is set to nothing at the start. But now create a on-click event for each of our images. So over here, if we create a on-click event where we set the selected PFP to the index that was selected, then in the selected PFP state variable, we know which index of all the PFPs is selected, and we can conditionally render the class name like so. So if the selected PFP is set to the current element, we'll render a class name called PFP option selected, which will have a border, and otherwise it will have the same standard format. So if we go ahead and save this, now go back to our page, here if we click this, it turns selected. Same thing with this. Now this has the border. With this one, now this has the border. So this way we can keep track, and in the state selected PFP, we know which NFT is currently selected, and further down the line, when we're saving this PFP into the database, we can save the correct one. And to finish off, we want a profile banner selection where a user can go to their local machine and select a profile banner, and then finally a save button that will save all of this changed data into the database when we have Moralis integrated. But for that, we'll use the same method we did for our adding images to a tweet. So we'll go ahead and jump back into our repo, and as we did on the home page, we'll create two constants, one as a useRef for the input file, and then a selected file, which we have set to default image 1, so the banner image. We'll have to make sure that we import that. Default images, and now create a banner image over here, which when pressed will trigger this file selection. So to save some time, let's just write the same functions we did on the home page. So on banner click, on the home page it was on image click, I think, but that will just open this reference to the input file, and then a change handler where we set whatever image is selected in the file directory to selected file, which we can then present as the banner. And now going down here, we have this profile PFP class, and underneath that we'll create a new one like so. We'll call it the same because the styling is the same, but we essentially have this image which is set to the selected file, and on the click we run the on banner click event, and then we have this hidden input that opens the file directory for us. So if we see what this looks like, open this up full screen for you guys. So we have this beautiful profile banner set to the default banner, but if we click this, we can select any of our files, say this one over here. It automatically crops it to fit the banner size, and this would be our banner image. And now, last things last, we want to add a save button, which will save all these details that we set over here to our database when we integrate Moralis. So simply open up your repo, and underneath this latest div, let's just create a div called class name save. It'll have text save, and I've commented out the onClick event, which calls the function save edits. We'll write that soon, where we save all these edits to our Moralis database. But now save that. We get a nice little save button over there, and our front end is complete. Look at this. We have our home page where we have all our tweets. We can make a new tweet, and we have our profile page where we can set our profile, where you can see your own tweets. And then the settings page where you can set your own profile data. And of course you have this beautiful sidebar and right bar. Let's go ahead and get Moralis set up so we can go ahead and log into this page and start pulling actual data from our Moralis database and saving tweets to the Matic testnet or whichever network you choose to use. But now I want you to head over to moralis.io, your one-stop place for everything Web3. You're going to want to go ahead and log in if you already have an account, but sign up for a free account if you don't already have one. And once you're all set up, you'll come to your admin dashboard that'll look something like this, and you can go ahead and create a new server. We'll create a testnet server and call it Twitter. Select a region closest to you. I'll go Amsterdam, and then we're going for a testnet, and we're going to use the Polygon Mumbai testnet. You're free to use anything you like. Add that instance. I'll go ahead and create a Moralis server for you, from which you can view the details and get your server URL and application ID, and that is all you'll need for now to get you started up and get user authentication going. We can jump back into our repo and go to the index.js file where we provide our app ID, like so, and then the same thing for our server URL, like so. And now our app is wrapped around the Moralis provider, giving us access to all the Moralis functionality and Web3 in the same package. And because the web3uikit is integrated with Moralis, we can go ahead to our app.js file and create a login page where we can connect our wallet, and that will only authenticate us to go view our home page, profile page, and settings page. First of all, let's import Moralis. So importing use Moralis from React Moralis, and then the connect button from web3uikit and icon. So we have that Twitter icon on this page as well. And then we can go ahead and destructure is authenticated using Moralis, and then Moralis to provide logout functionality when we actually want to log out of the account. So now when we have the isAuthenticated state, we can go ahead and conditionally render these pages only if the user is authenticated, and then render a login page when the user is not authenticated. So let's check if the user is authenticated, then we'll present all that we've already created. But in the case that the user is not authenticated, let's go ahead and create a page inside a div called login page. We'll have the Twitter icon there, and then we'll use the connect button from the Web3 UI kit. And I think we have to put a squiggly bracket over here. And now, making sure that we are authenticated, we'll present all that we've already created. But if we're not, we'll just have this very plain page with a Twitter icon and a connect button, allowing us to connect with our crypto wallet into the Twitter clone. Also, when we're on the page, we have to have a functionality to actually log out. So we'll just add that underneath the sidebar component. So it'll be in the sidebar. So this div with class name logout, and on click, we'll use Moralis to log out the user and then refresh the page. So we get back to the login page and it'll just say log out. So if we save that and go check out our app again, so wow, look at this. Our front page looks way different. We only have this Twitter logo and a connect wallet button. But if we press that, it asks us which wallet provider we want to use to connect. We'll use MetaMask. We'll use our account for. Next, connect. Do we want to sign? Yes, we sign. And look at this. Now we're signed in and we have our logout button. So now we're signed in with this account 0x164. And we can go ahead and start using the details for this account to present their profile picture, username, etc., etc. And to do that, we'll have to configure the settings page so that when changing some of these details, you'll be able to save the details into your Moralis database. So if we go to the dashboard over here, you see we have this user account, we have Moralis co-services, but then it always, when you connect an account to your server, it creates a user. So we can modify this user class to give you a username, profile picture, biography, and then present this data on your app. So let's go ahead and go back to our IDE and open our settings.js page. Over here, let's create a few state variables again. We'll create the file, which is the same as the banner image set selected file, but this is a temporary object URL. The file will only include the raw file, so we can upload the file into IPFS, so we get an image URL for the file. Then the username will just be a string for the username, and then the bio will be a string for the biography for the user. And then in our change handler over here, where we set the selected file, let's also set the file to image, so we have raw file data when we're uploading to IPFS in our next function we're going to make. Now make sure you also uncomment the change events for input over here and over here. So now we're setting the biography, we're setting the username, we're setting the banner image, and now we can create a function where we call our Moralis user class, get our own object from there, and update it with these details we've set on this settings page. For this, you'll need to import use Moralis again, import use Moralis from React Moralis, and then we'll need Moralis destructured from use Moralis so we can create our save edits asynchronous function that is triggered by the save button over here, which you can uncomment. So now writing the functionality for our save edits function. To start off, we'll need to query the user class in our Moralis database. And because the user class is secured in a way that only the user themselves can fetch their own data, we can just query for the first object within this user class query, and then your details wouldn't be in there. And then we can go ahead and start setting some of your details. So for example, if we have a biography set, we can set my details bio to the bio. Same thing for your username. If in the settings we have set a username, we can set your details to that said username. And then for the file, which is your banner image, if we have selected from our local machine a new banner image, we have to first upload that image to IPFS to get an image URL for it that can then be always fetched when we want to present your banner. So what we check is if we have that file, which is that raw image file, we take that file, use moralis.file to create a new Moralis file for it, and then save it to IPFS using this command. And then we can save the URL that it is stored on IPFS into the banner key in your Moralis user object. And then all we have to do here is save this my details object like so. So we await my details to save, and then we can also do a window refresh to make sure that our details are saved. And now we can actually go ahead and test this out. Saving this file and going back to our app over here, React app. Let's refresh the page. And now go ahead and change our name to say Jman, our bio to I like golf and food. And now let's try this first of all, save, everything's refreshed. And if we go to our admin dashboard, refresh this, you can see that our object's username has set to Jman, and we have a key called bio, and it says I like golf and food. Now let's see if we go ahead and try and add a profile banner. So over here, let's go ahead and try and add this as my profile banner. Open, save that, and everything's refreshed again. Go back here, refresh, and now we should have a key called banner. If we go over here, yes, we have a banner and it's a IPFS URL, and we can use that to render our banner image on our page. How cool is that? Now, last thing on the settings page I want to do is get the PFPs of this user, not just using these hard-coded PFPs, but actually using the Web3 API Moralis has to get the user's NFTs and set these as the user's profile picture. So what we'll do here on the page is we're also going to bring in use Moralis Web3 API like so, and then we're going to bring it in as a constant Web3 API and create a use effect. But for use effect, we have to bring in use effect from React, use effect like so, and create our use effect over here. Voila. And this will be triggered every time we have a Moralis is authenticated state change or the account changes. So these will trigger our use effect. And in our use effect, we'll have a function called const fetch NFTs. It'll be asynchronous. And to start off, we'll provide some options, which will be equal to, so here you'll put your chain, we'll use Mumbai, and then the address we want to search for NFTs, which will be the account we get using Moralis over here. Now, using these options, we can get our Mumbai NFTs by awaiting for the Web3 API using the account to get NFTs with the provided options. Now, many times the URL in which the IPFS NFT image is stored is in a format you can't retrieve like this. So you have to provide a gateway. So we create this resolve link function to get the correct link, and then we can use that to map through all our Mumbai NFTs and make a constant called images, like so, where we get the image metadata for every single one of our NFTs and store them in this images array. And now we could set this as the PFPs. So we'll turn this into a state variable, PFPs, and we'll use state where it is an empty array at the start and remove our presets like so. And now we can over here set our images array we created to the PFPs. And now we have a fetch NFTs function that gets the current user's NFT library and stores them in this PFP array so we can present them on our page and the user can select them to set as their profile picture for the Twitter clone. We just have to make sure that we run this fetch NFTs function over here. And then in our save edits function, we can add a if statement where if we have a selected PFP, then we set that in our Moralis database as well. So we have access to the image URL of that NFT and can present that in our front end. Save that, and now let's go check out how this works. So back here at the front page, if we try and connect our wallet, MetaMask, do we want to sign? Yes, we want to sign. And this pops up with our 5 NFTs, and these are actually the NFTs we have on OpenSea as well. So here you see my OpenSea profile, and we have these 5 NFTs. They pop up over here, so if we select this one and save, now going to our Moralis admin dashboard, refresh, we have this Jman user over here, and the PFP is the IPFS URL for that NFT. Let me show you if I open up a new tab. So here we have a different browser window with a different wallet address in the MetaMask, connect, sign. We're in the app for this profile. If we go to settings, look at that. We have our profile images or NFTs for this user. So he has different NFTs because he's minted different NFTs. These are past NFTs from past projects of mine. and we can go ahead and select this one or this one, whatever you'd like, and now save that. Or let's actually go ahead and call this new guy, give it a bio of Mage Web3 Wiz, and go ahead and save that. Now going back to our admin dashboard, if we refresh, look at this, we have this new guy and we have all their details as well. We have their PFP, they didn't have a banner yet. We have their bio, Mage Web3 Wiz. So you see everything is working beautifully. And we can move on to go ahead and use our details in our Moralis database to input the correct details for the user over on their profile page, as well as over here at the bottom of the sidebar. So head back to your IDE, go to profile.js, and make sure you import use Moralis. Then we're going to destructure Moralis from use Moralis and create a constant called user, which gets the current user object from our Moralis database, and then we can start filling our details over here. So our banner, our PFP, our name, our wallet address with the correct details, not just hard-coded values. So let's just close down this window over here, and instead of having our default image as our banner, if we have the user attributes banner, we'll use that. Otherwise, we can use the default image. Same thing for our profile PFP, we'll use the default image if the user attributes doesn't have a PFP. Now for the profile name, we can just use the user attributes username, and because it automatically generates a long username with a lot of digits, we'll just slice it to the first 7 digits of the user set username. And for the wallet, to get it in this format, we have to do a little bit of magic. Let's just go ahead and create a template literal where we get the ETH address and slice the first few digits, put 3 dots, and then we slice the last few digits over here, and that will get us the wallet address of the user. And I think that is about it. So now if we save this and do the same thing for our sidebar, so go to your sidebar.js, paste the required Moralis library and destructurings, like so, and then at the bottom of our page, we create a new div called details and put the same things. If we have the user's PFP, we present the PFP. If we have the username, we slice it, and if we have the ETH address, we also get that in there. And because we are possibly using the default image, we have to import that as well. So import default images like so, save that, and we can go check out our app. Look at that, how cool is that? Our profile picture is what we set it to, our banner is what we set it to earlier in the video as well, and our username, ETH address, and even our bio is all correct. If we go to edit our profile, we can change something. So say our bio, I like bananas, and change it to this owl kind of thing, and then go ahead and save. Now our user has saved, go to our profile, look at that. Only thing that seems iffy is we seem to have still hard-coded our biography. So if we go back to our profile.js page over here, your average Web3 mage, let's just use from your user attribute to your bio, save that. Go back to our page and look at that. I like bananas has been automatically updated. How cool is that? So now setting your user's details using the Moralis database and the user's own NFTs as an option for their profile pictures is all set up. Now we can go ahead and move over here. We actually have to change this user icon to the user's profile picture and then create a class in the Moralis database to store our tweets so we can actually get a live feed of actual tweets, not just our preset tweets over here. And then finally, we can move on to interacting with our smart contract and storing tweets on the smart contract if we want to as well. So jumping back into our repo and going to the home.js file, in here we'll have to bring in Moralis again. Voila. And like I said, the profile image in the tweet box will have to set. So over here where we have our default image 0, let's use user attributes PFP like so. Save that, just check that that worked. Look at that, nice, our PFP image is correct. Now going ahead and creating a function that saves whatever we have typed in our text area, and if we have an image selected, and storing that in a Moralis class called tweets, for example. Let's create that by first initializing a few state variables. So like we did in the settings page with our banner, we have to store the raw image data of our selected file if we have an image, and then for our text area, our actual tweet, we have to set that in our text area. So we put a onChange event in here, where anytime the text in the text area changes, we store that in the tweet state variable, and then we can save that. So now going ahead and creating a function called saveTweet, and if we don't have a tweet, we can return this function automatically, like so. So we have to make sure that we have set a tweet, otherwise we won't run this saveTweet function. But then, if we do have a tweet, we have to initialize a connection to the Moralis database. So here we extend a class called tweets. If this is the very first tweet, we'll just create this class, but otherwise we'll just add an object to this class, and we'll create a new object with this new tweets command over here. And now we can set the different keys of this new tweet object like so. So our tweet text will be the tweet. We'll want to store the PFP of the person who tweeted, which we can get from the user attributes. Same for the user account, and also the username of the person who made the tweet. Now, for the file again, if we have an image, we have to make sure that over here we set the file to image, and then we can store this in the Moralis database as well. So we'll go over, and if we have a file, essentially an image a user wants to attach to their tweet, we make sure that we create a Moralis file and upload this to IPFS and get the URL for this new image stored in IPFS to go alongside this tweet. And it'll be stored in the tweet image key of this new tweet object. Then all you have to do is await for the new tweet to save, like so. And then we can do a window location reload again to refresh our page and get our new tweet to appear. It won't appear yet because we're not pulling this tweet class from Moralis, we're just inputting data into the tweet class. But now we can check if it actually works by making a tweet on our front page. So save this and go back to your home page, and here trying to create a tweet. So let's say going for vacation, woohoo, and then add an image as well. Let's add this room over here, open, and tweet this. Nothing happens because we forgot that over at the bottom over here, where we have our tweet buttons, we have to create onClick events to save the tweet. So let's do onClick equals run the save tweet function. Save that now, go back to our page, refresh, and try again. Going on vacation, add our room image over here, open, and then tweet. The page refreshed, and ideally now we'd have this new tweet here, but we haven't created that functionality yet. But if we go check out our database, refresh this, we have this new class called tweets, and here we have the tweet image stored. We see who tweeted it, the tweeter's PFP, and even the tweet text going on vacation. How cool is that? So now next step is actually pulling this data, this tweet class, and displaying that in our tweet feed, and making sure that if the user themselves have tweeted it, that is the only tweet that shows up on the profile page, and then on the home page you can see everyone's tweets. So if you remember in our repository, in our tweetinfeed.js component, we render our tweets. So let's go ahead and bring in Moralis and useEffect and useState from React into this component as well, and create a initial state variable to store all the tweets. So an array called tweet array, like so. So in this array, we can store all the tweets from our Moralis database. And talking about Moralis, we'll of course need to destructure Moralis and also account to get the user's wallet address for filtering purposes. We've done this plenty of times now, so just getting Moralis and account from use Moralis. Then, because in the pages we pass the tweet in feed component always a Boolean called profile, whether we're on the home page, we pass false, and whether we're on the profile page, we pass true. We can use that in this component like so, and then create our use effect that is triggered every time the profile value changes. So what we do is we create a asynchronous function called getTweets, and we do the same thing. We query Moralis for the tweets class. If we're on the profile page, we make sure that our query only includes the objects where the tweeter account is the currently logged in account. If we're on the home page, we don't do this part, and we get everyone's tweets. And then these are stored in results, and we can set our tweet array to results. We can also console log it, and then we can console log an error if we have any errors. And that is essentially how we get our tweets in this tweet in feed, And now, rather than just manually creating all this feed tweets, we can map through this tweet array to get all these tweets. So let's create that over here. So let's go ahead and comment out what we already have. I'll leave these in the final build if you want to use them yourself. But rather than having all that, let's go ahead and check if we have our tweet array, then we can map through them, get each element, and then return basically the same HTML we did before. So let's copy that out from over here, div. So it goes all the way there, copy that, paste that in here. But now all our hard-coded things, let's change. So let's format this document nicely and change all our hard-coded things to values we get from each element in the tweet array. Starting off with the profile pic, if we have a tweeter PFP, we'll use that. Then the username, from the element we get the tweeter username, and we slice the first 6 digits again for that. Then for the ETH address and when it was posted, it will be quite a complex template literal, but we're essentially getting just the tweeter's account, slicing that, then putting a couple of dots, and then getting the tweeter's accounts, the last few digits of that, and then using toLocalString to get the month and the date the tweet was actually posted. This is automatically done by Moralis. Then for the tweet content, that will be in the tweet text variable. And here where we have the image, we have to actually check that we have an image. So if we have an image, then we can post that image, but otherwise we won't have an image in that tweet. And that is it. Now we have our feed tweets set up to get the data from all the objects in our Moralis database. And if we save that, we only should have one tweet at the moment, and go check out our page. Look at that, going on vacation and our lovely photo over here. We can test it out, go tweet a new tweet. Hi world, make a tweet over here. And it's added, but it's added to the bottom. So let's go ahead and reverse our array back in Visual Studio Code. So where our map ends, over here, let's just go ahead and reverse that mapping so we get them in the right order. Save that, go back to our page, and that worked beautifully. So now our new tweet is here. If we go to our profile page, we get all these tweets because we have tweeted them. But now let's go ahead and open that other account. So here I've gone to this other account where we have 0x5d logged in, and we get all these tweets that J-Man has tweeted. But if we go to our profile page, we don't have any tweets because we haven't actually made any tweets. So if you go to the home, say, my first tweet, tweet that, that's added into the main feed, but it's also added to my profile feed. And in our other app, J-Man over here can go home and see that new guy just posted today, April 20th, my first tweet. So everything is working so beautifully. How cool is this? We've basically built a full Twitter, but now to add that final functionality, if we want to store these tweets on the blockchain and also in our Moralis database, we have to interact with our smart contract we created at the very start of the video. So let's do that now, and then you're completed. How cool has this build been so far? So one more time, navigate yourself to your IDE and go to the home.js file, where you bring in use Moralis, also bring in use web3 execute function, and then we can make a contract processor out of this use web3 execute function brought in from React Moralis. And then we'll create our function just like we did with save tweet, but this time we'll do a matic tweet function. So it's going to be an asynchronous function called matic tweet. Seems like I misspelled function, like so, and then we'll put our functionality inside here. All right. To start off, again, if we don't have a tweet, we will just return and we won't run this function. And then we also have to upload to IPFS if we have an image. So we create a variable called image and we store the IPFS URL of the image that the user wants to attach to the tweet in that image variable. Or if we don't have an image, we just set the image to no image. So we know on the blockchain to say that this tweet does not have an image. Now let's provide some options that the contract processor takes. So first of all, we'll need the contract address that we created at the start. So you should have that from Remix. And then the function name, we want to use the add tweet function. And then we'll need the ABI. For this, let's head back to Remix and I'll show you how to get that. So here in Remix, where we compiled the tweet, let's go over here. At the bottom over here, you have the ABI of this contract you compiled. So you can copy that. Let's go back to our directory. open up our files and say here, create a new file called the abi.json. And in here we can paste it. So this is our application binary interface for our smart contract we wrote. And we can get this add tweet bit from over here, copy that, head back to our home.js file and make sure that we put it inside an array like so. And now we have the ABI for our add tweet functionality that we can pass to our contract processor. And the last few things we have to pass as options are the parameters of the add tweet function. So we have to put the tweet and the image that we created over up here. And then the message value, we set that you always have to send one of the currency of the network to be able to run that function. So we set that here, message value using the Moralis units ETH helper function. Now all we have to do is await for that contract processor to go through. And if it goes through, we can run this save tweet functionality as well to save the tweet in our Moralis database in addition to the blockchain. So here we go, we do an await contract processor fetch, and we use as the parameters the options we set over here. And then if it's a success, we save the tweet as well to our Moralis database and get that nice interaction on our web page where we see the new tweet pop up. But if there's an error, we console log that error. And that should have us finished. So if we save that, before we do that, we also have to make sure that we run this matic tweet function when the matic button is pressed. So we copy this save tweet functionality from here and put matic tweet over there. So now everything should be good. And we go to our web page. Here on the page, moment of truth, let's go with blockchain tweet and press our matic button over here. MetaMask pops up, asks us, do we want to send one matic? We confirm that. And the blockchain tweet comes up over here. It also comes up on our profile page. And if we go check the smart contract on the block explorer, refresh this page, look at this, 25 seconds ago, a transaction went through for one matic. If we look at the events, it is this event. If we change this to text, so we see what's going on, blockchain tweet just came through. How cool is that? We stored our tweet on the blockchain forever, but at the same time, we also stored it in the Moralis database for easy and quick access. How cool is that? We finished our Moralis Twitter clone, which uses your own NFTs as profile images for you. You can set your own profile banner as well, and you can tweet tweets onto the blockchain. How cool is that? I really hope you enjoyed this build and enjoyed this week's Moralis project. Be sure to tweet out if you finish this build and get your NFTs on the Discord chat. And I'll see you in the next one.